The office lights buzzed faintly as I stared at my screen. The last employee left on the floor. It was nearing 10 p.m., and the city outside had settled into its nocturnal rhythm. Quiet, a little eerie, and certainly not the safest for a young woman traveling alone. I had just wrapped up a client report when my boss, Mr. Karan Malhotra, appeared at my desk with a warm smile and a steaming cup of coffee. "You really go the extra mile," he said, placing the cup beside me. "No wonder the clients only ask for you." I forced a tired smile, grateful for the recognition. Karan had always been different from the other senior managers. More approachable, charismatic, and effortlessly respectful. In the 3 months since I'd joined, he had become a mentor of sorts, always encouraging me to push harder, reach higher. "I was just finishing up," I replied, saving my work. "Didn't realize it got this late." His gaze flicked toward the glass door. "It's pitch dark outside. Let me drop you home. No arguments." I hesitated. I'd never accepted such offers from anyone before, especially from a boss. But something about the gentle tone in his voice, the casual familiarity in his smile, made it seem harmless. Besides, the idea of waiting for a cab at this hour didn't sit well with me. "Okay. Thank you," I said quietly, gathering my things. His car, a sleek black SUV, was parked just outside. As we drove through the city's winding streets, the conversation flowed effortlessly. He asked about my college days, my family, what inspired me to enter marketing. I found myself opening up in ways I usually reserved for close friends. "You're driven," he said at one point, glancing over. "That's rare. Most people your age are still figuring themselves out." I blushed at the compliment. "I just like knowing I'm working towards something meaningful." Karan nodded. "Meaningful. That's a word I don't hear much these days. You remind me of someone I once knew." The warmth in his voice was disarming, and for a moment I allowed myself to enjoy the quiet flattery. The city lights faded as we crossed into a quieter area, fewer buildings, more open spaces. "Shortcut," he said, noticing my glance. "Less traffic this way." I nodded, unsure but trusting. The office was in a safe part of the city, and surely he knew these roads better than I did. Besides, the calm in his demeanor made it easy to believe there was nothing to worry about. As the roads narrowed and streetlights grew sparse, a flicker of unease crept in. But he kept talking, telling stories of his early days in the industry, how hard he had to fight to prove himself. I listened, a little distracted, trying to ignore the growing silence outside. We turned down an unfamiliar path, and I looked out the window. Trees lined both sides of the road. I frowned slightly. "Where exactly is this?" I asked, my tone light but curious. "Almost there," he said with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Something inside me stirred, but I said nothing. Not yet. The hum of the engine was the only sound filling the space between us now. Outside, the trees leaned in close, their branches forming dark silhouettes against the dim moonlight. My unease was no longer a flicker. It had grown into a quiet alarm in the back of my mind. "Karan, this doesn't look like the road to my place," I said carefully, trying to keep my voice steady. He didn't look at me, his eyes fixed on the winding path ahead. "It's a shortcut through the outskirts. I used to take this route when I lived nearby. Relax, you're safe." The I. Words sounded reassuring, but something about the way he said them sent a chill down my spine. The warmth that had marked our earlier conversation had vanished. I glanced at my phone. No signal. We slowed near a clearing where the road widened slightly. To my disbelief, he pulled over and turned off the ignition. "What are we doing?" I asked, tension creeping into my voice. He finally looked at me, a strange softness in his eyes. I just wanted a moment to talk, without all the office noise, the formality. It's rare to find someone I actually enjoy spending time with. I shifted in my seat, heart beginning to thud in my chest. "Karan, I appreciate the compliment, but I'd really prefer to get home. It's late." He leaned slightly towards me, resting one arm casually on the steering wheel. "Why are you so tense?" I'm not going to hurt you. You're always so guarded at work. I thought maybe here, away from all that, you could just be yourself. There was a pause, a heavy, unsettling silence. I am myself, I replied quietly, and right now, I just want to go home. He sighed, feigning disappointment. I thought we had a connection, that you felt it too. I wasn't expecting you to be afraid of me. I didn't respond. My hands were clenched tightly around my purse now, fingers inching toward my phone again, though I already knew there was no signal. He reached toward me slowly, as if to brush a lock of hair from my shoulder. I jerked away instinctively. That's enough, I said firmly. Take me home. Now. His expression shifted. Hurt, irritation, disbelief all flashing across his face in seconds. You don't have to act scared. I'm not some stranger in the dark. I'm your boss, your friend. No, I said, my voice low but unshaking. You're crossing a line. He stared at me for a long second, his hand frozen midair, then slowly pulled it back. He leaned back in his seat, exhaling sharply. The air between us turned cold. Outside, a sudden gust of wind rustled the trees, breaking the silence. He didn't start the car. And I knew, in that moment, that this night was far from over. The silence inside the car grew oppressive, thick with unspoken tension. Karan's face had hardened, his jaw clenched as he stared out into the darkness ahead. I sat frozen, barely daring to breathe, every instinct screaming that something was wrong, terribly wrong. I reached for the door handle subtly. It didn't budge. Child lock, he said without looking at me, his voice flat, almost bored. Panic surged through me. I masked it quickly, forcing a calm expression. This is ridiculous, Karen. You're scaring me. Just drive me home, please. He finally turned to me, eyes narrowing. You act like I'm some predator. I brought you here because I trusted. You thought you were different. Clearly, I was wrong. I said nothing. Arguing would only provoke him further. I needed to think, to stay composed. My phone was useless without service, but I discreetly opened the voice recorder and began recording, sliding it face down on my lap beneath my scarf. He ran a hand through his hair, laughing bitterly. You know, people take advantage of kindness. All the time, I just wanted to talk, that's all. Then talk, I said gently. But let's do it while driving. I'm tired. I just want to go home. For a moment, he seemed to waver. His grip on the steering wheel loosened, and I could see a flicker of hesitation. I leaned into that uncertainty. Maybe I overreacted, I added softly. It's been a long day. Can we just get out of here? He looked at me closely, studying my face, searching for sincerity. Then, nodding slowly, he unlocked the doors. I'll get some air first, I said, already pushing mine open. I stepped out into the cold night, heart racing. The forest was deathly quiet except for the occasional rustle of leaves. I glanced back. Karen was still inside, fiddling with his phone, maybe checking the GPS. Now. I turned and ran. Branches slapped against my face as I sprinted blindly through the underbrush, my heels digging into soft earth. I didn't look back. Every step away from that car felt like survival. My lungs burned, but I kept going, praying I was heading toward the main road. Behind me, I heard the slam of a car door and a muffled shout. I ducked behind a thick tree trunk, clutching my phone to my chest, still recording. Then, headlights. Distant, but real. I burst from the woods, waving both hands as a small hatchback approached. The driver, a woman, slammed the brakes, eyes wide. Please, I gasped. I need help. She opened the door without a word. As the car pulled away, I dared a final glance at the road behind us. The SUV was gone. But the fear, the betrayal, that lingered. And deep down, I knew this wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of something I would never forget. The next morning, I sat on the edge of my bed, eyes swollen from a sleepless night. The events in the forest replayed over and over in my mind like a twisted loop. Despite the fear and confusion, one thing had become crystal clear. This wasn't just an inappropriate encounter. It was a betrayal of trust so deep that it left an invisible bruise on my spirit. I looked at my phone. The audio recording was still saved, each word an uncomfortable pause documented in chilling detail. It had captured enough. His tone, his manipulative language, and my repeated refusals. Proof of what had happened, even if nothing physical had occurred. Proof that I was not overreacting. Proof that I had every right to feel violated. By noon, I sat in a small conference room at the office of the company's HR department. The woman across from me, Ms. Neha Desai, listened intently, her expression unreadable as I recounted everything. I left nothing out. I showed her the recording, explained the route he'd taken, how he'd tried to control the situation with charm first, then subtle threats. Neha nodded occasionally, taking notes. When I finished, she leaned forward and said quietly, "You did the right thing coming to us. I want you to know that we take this very seriously." Still, I could see the doubt behind her professional tone. Karan was a respected figure in the company, charming, polished, and admired. I was a junior associate, young, new. I didn't care. Days turned into weeks. An investigation followed. I was questioned multiple times, as was he. Whispers started around the office. Colleagues who once greeted me warmly now kept their distance. The weight of suspicion, of invisible judgment, grew heavier each day, but I never backed down. Eventually, I received an email. Karan had been placed on administrative leave pending a formal review. The tone was sterile, procedural, but to me, it felt like a small victory, a sign that my voice hadn't been silenced. One evening, I met the woman who had rescued me, the stranger who had pulled over in the middle of the road. Her name was Arpita, a social worker by profession. We shared coffee in a quiet cafe. I told her everything, and she listened the way few had, with no agenda, just compassion. "You were brave," she said gently. "Most wouldn't have spoken up." I nodded, unsure whether what I felt was courage or simply necessity. Karen never returned to the office. I later heard he had resigned quietly. No headlines, no public fallout, just silence, typical. But I had changed. I wasn't the naive, trusting girl who thought charm and authority equaled safety. I had learned to protect my boundaries fiercely and value the voice I once hesitated to use. This wasn't a love story, not really. But it was a story of love, for myself, for the truth, and for the courage it takes to confront betrayal and rise above it. And that, perhaps, is the greatest romance of all.